Aaron Whitlow.
I am Brandon Spivey, and it's a great day. I don't know what's up with Aaron, but it is a great day to be back on the Markout Movie Podcast, Aaron. Get excited.
Yeah, it is. Woohoo. On today's episode, we are going to be discussing Mr. Holland's Opus. But as we do every week, we'll discuss what we watched. And I'll go ahead and start first since I only watched one thing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I watched that I just don't remember. I finally finished Star Trek Generations, which isn't Star Trek: The Next Generation, the show. I gave up on that. I do this on May the 4th be with you too. So this is probably blasphemy to speak about Star Trek
on Star Wars Day. Yeah,
on the Star Wars Day.
This
But
is
that's what I'm
Markout Movie
doing.
Podcast. We do whatever.
We don't play by no man's rules. But yeah, so I finished Star Trek Generations, which is the movie that is pretty much passing the torch from the previous Star Trek films with like Kirk, William Shatner, and Spock, and all of them, and passing the. Now Spock isn't in this film whatsoever, but it's passing the torch between that generation and the Jean-Luc Picards and the Next Generation stuff. So that's what it is. Sort. I wish it was more like that, but it wasn't. I wish it was more mingled between the two different crews. I think that'd been kind of cool, but it wasn't like that. But I did absolutely like when Kirk is on the screen, he steals every scene, and I got excited every time I seen him. And when the Klingon stuff happened, I kind of got excited. Andy McDowell, Michael McDowell. Is his name Andy or Michael? Andy's a lady.
That's the woman. Yeah, I don't know about the guy. I don't.
His name Martin or Marty? Martin McDowell. Martin McDowell.
Malcolm. You talking about Malcolm?
Malcolm. Yes. He's
I haven't
the
even
villain.
seen the movie. I know what he's talking about.
He's the villain in that film, and he's a pretty good villain, man. He's what can you say? He's the guy is. He is who he is.
He's Loomis.
But no, yeah, he's Loomis. He's new Loomis. Well, not now. He's the newest Loomis we have. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I thought the movie was not as good as the previous films, and I haven't seen any of the Star Trek stuff going forward. And like I said, I totally gave up on Star Trek Next Generation. I know I shouldn't, but it's like a snail pace. And I almost gave up on. You want to talk about May the 4th? I'm watching Andor, and I almost gave up on it. This last episode might have salvaged it for me that I watched. But yeah, that's all I've watched is Star Trek Generations and Andor this week. And Cuphead on Netflix. I watched a little bit of that, which was interesting. Cuphead is interesting.
Dawson loves that. He loves the game. He loves the show. Are you watching it with your granddaughter? No,
just me. But the reason why I watched it is because, like, I'm going to be confessional. I'm thinking about getting a Switch, Nintendo Switch, and I know that's the game that's on it, and I was like, yeah, if I buy the game, I probably want to look at the show before I buy the game. So, but yeah, I'm thinking about getting a Nintendo Switch.
He's getting back in the game.
Yeah, but I thought I'd go back with Nintendo, not like Xbox or PlayStation. But okay. Brandon.
My turn. Okay, yeah. So last Friday I went and seen Guy Ritchie's The Covenant with Jake Gyllenhaal and forgot the guy's name. Anyway, Jake's fine. The other guy is why you watch the movie. He gets you invested in the movie. He steals every scene he's in. It's a good movie about not leaving anyone behind. And once you know, the trailers kind of spoil everything except the end, but it was a good film, and I think it's Guy Ritchie's best film since The Gentleman.
The guy that plays Ahmed, you're talking about? Dar Salim?
Yes.
Okay.
That's him. Yeah, he's phenomenal in that movie. He's why you care. He's why you like it. Jake's just kind of there, even though he's top billing. But he's not why you liked the movie. The second movie I saw was, I know this is controversial, Evil Dead
Wait,
Rise.
before you say that, so I agree with you when it comes to Jake Gyllenhaal lately with his films. Like if you even think about the ambulance movie, I actually was more invested in it because of
The other guy.
the other guy. I forget his name. I think he has a name that's twice. I can't think of the guy's name, but he's the new Candyman. That guy.
Yeah,
I
he
was
was
more
great.
invested because of him than I was Jake.
But I also thought Jake was having fun in that movie. But I thought both of them together is the reason I liked it. I agree with you though. That guy made you invested in his character and the story they were telling. Because if it's just Jake, he's just going mad. You gotta have a reason why to be invested. You don't just need a madman. But yeah, I agree with you. I haven't really watched a lot of Jake Gyllenhaal films as of late. He's not, he's not somebody that pulls me in,
Right.
But I did go see Evil Dead Rise, and I actually thought about this. There was controversy that day, but I ain't gonna go into that. Here's what I thought about the movie, really quick. I thought the mother that gets, she comes the demon possessed. She's having a ball. Her tone in the movie felt like the original Evil Dead films. Everyone else felt like they were in 2013s. And that's probably why I have mixed feelings. I felt she needed Ash, have more fun with it. But it is a fun movie. I didn't love it. I felt something was missing. That's all I'm going to say.
I loved it. You know me. I loved
you
it.
did. I know you did.
It's like, yeah. So, I mean,
that's why me and you work. We can disagree and be friends.
Yeah. I totally. I enjoyed it. I didn't miss Ash, even though I think there's still room for him to pop up in maybe another one. Because of I know that he made a cameo via his voice. There's his voice on the recording talking about we unlock something or something like that. I think maybe not his voice right there, but it's his voice somewhere on there.
Yeah.
On the old recording. But yeah, I think that there's always room. I thought the lady that played the sister, the technician sister, I thought that she did a good job. I think she became more like Ash towards the third act in a sense of as far as like the over the topness of everything. But I love that, like, I didn't miss him in the sense of, like, if you think about the 2013 film, I thought that it worked on its own, which I liked it. But
I mean, when 2013, there's no room for Ash in that movie. The tone is not for him at all. It's a serious film, and there's no room for a character like Ash. But this one, I mean, I didn't hate it. I thought about it. I didn't hate it. I felt something was missing. That's all. I'm gonna go see it again. Dawson wants to see it. It's like he's getting up there. He's near a teenager, so I was like, okay. But he really wants to see it, so I'm gonna take him.
Okay.
But I saw the George Foreman film.
Oh Lord.
Why?
I heard it's terrible. Go ahead.
I liked it. Now, I've never seen him box, but if he boxed like this, he wasn't very good. If he boxed like he did in the movie, he was slow, but Muhammad Ali, the guy that plays him, stole the movie. Again, this is a Christian film though, so I love the message, and I had a good time with it. The boxing itself wasn't great, but it is what it is. I had a good time for the Christian message they had, what he went through, how he changed as a person. So I think that's why I really liked it. Then I saw the new action movie, Sisu. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Real quick, with George Foreman. The guy's like in his 70s or 80s
Yeah.
maybe, and he's still like he was on TikTok. His son was recording him boxing, like not boxing, but like hitting the bag. He still had that power. Uh, Foreman was able to like bust open the bag when he was in his prime. The Thriller in Manila, I think that was the one with him, and I think that
Muhammad.
was the one with him and Muhammad Ali. Uh, it might have been, yes, the Thriller in Manila. There's a couple of them that Muhammad did like that. One of them was with like I think Sonny Liston. Maybe I might be wrong, but my favorite boxer of all time is actually Mike Tyson.
Mine too.
It's because I grew up in the era of Mike Tyson. I grew up watching his fights. If I grew up watching Ali or I seen some of Smokey Rob not Smokey Robinson, but Smokey.
Yep.
Uh, what's
Little Frank.
Sugar Ray Leonard.
Oh,
I grew up seeing some of his matches as well, his boxing matches. But I'm a Tyson guy because growing up, he's the best. It's like,
was.
you know what I'm saying?
The only really bad thing about the Foreman movie was during the Evander Holyfield fight, they used CGI, and it looked awful. I don't know why they did that. I guess Holyfield didn't give him permission to use his likeness, or I don't know. I really don't know. It was awful though. That was really bad. But
Okay.
I did watch
You said
Sisu.
Sisu, yeah. I
That was
heard good things.
Oh, that's amazing. It's John Wick's grandpa, in a sense. It's
Oh,
just,
really? Is it?
I mean, it's not really
What's
his
the
grandpa.
premise?
It's
No,
not
no.
really.
What's the premise?
He's a gold miner. He finds gold. It's during the war. Then he comes across some Nazis. They're trying to steal his gold. And he ends up killing a few, and they try to hunt him down. That's it. It's very simple, and it's amazing. Like the climax of the movie was, it was breathtaking. Like, this guy deserves his own franchise, but it works as a one-off as well. So I enjoyed every minute of it. It's not John
So
Wick, but it's
is
pretty awesome.
is that the best thing you've seen this week?
No. Beau is Afraid, which I saw today, is the best thing I've seen this week. I'm saying this right now. Joaquin Phoenix is going to win an Oscar. I wouldn't consider it horror necessarily, but maybe it's elevated horror. I mean, I'm still confused on that term, but
Think Hereditary. Think
it fits in that category.
yeah. That's elevated horror. More, it's like if you think about Midsummer, it's kind of, it messes with your mind. You don't know what's reality, what's not.
Yeah, that's this. I mean, it's a trip. It's a 3-hour movie, which I had concerns about, but I didn't get bored 1 second of this movie. And you know me, I'm not a big fan of this director, but I like Joaquin, and I was blown away by the journey this film director took us on, and I thought it was great. I really did.
All right. Well, that's good. We will now get into our review of Mr. Holland's Opus.
Aaron's gonna get emotional.
May. This movie, let's see, give me a moment. Yeah, so Mr. Holland's Opus came out in 1996, starring Richard Dreyfuss, William H. Macy, which I totally forgot he was in this movie. Glenn Headley. I never knew her name, by the way. Let's see. Jay Thomas and Bill Meester. There's a lot of people. Olympia Dukakis is in this film.
Yeah.
And very, very young Terrence Howard.
Yes.
Is in this movie.
The other guy,
Bobby.
I'm not sure what his name was. But it's Forrest Whitaker's son, and he looks just like Forrest Whitaker. Like, I mean, I thought it's crazy. I thought it was him.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's Forrest's son. It's actually Forrest's brother.
Oh, his brother?
Damon. Yes, Damon Whitaker. But the guy is like a carbon copy of his brother. Like, he looks just like it was kind of, it's crazy because when you see him in the movie, you think there's no way that's like, did they get Forrest Whitaker? Because if you look at Forrest Whitaker in like Wildcats, like it's a movie that he was in back in the '80s, he looked like
Yeah.
they look just alike, man. Uh, it's crazy, but yeah, Damon Whitaker. But yeah, this movie, like actually came out in '95. I said '96. I apologize. Came out in '95. Um, but yeah, this movie, man, uh, it's about a teacher played by Richard Dreyfuss, Glenn Holland, which I didn't know Glenn was his first name. I never even thought about that. But he is a musician. He wants to create a, piece of music, and he becomes because he needs money, he becomes a school teacher, thinking, I'm just going to do this for a couple of years, still working my music on the side. But life happens, and this becomes his career. And what do you think about like him at first, like and his frustration with not really wanting to be a teacher? He's just kind of going through the motions. What was your thoughts on it?
Uh, he came off like a guy that was, I don't know, he lost, I guess. He just didn't know he knew he wanted to be involved in music, but he didn't really want to be a teacher. He just felt like his life wasn't panning out like he planned.
Mm-hmm.
Which, he gets into it with his wife when she's pregnant. He came off like he didn't care at first. He just didn't care about her feelings. He just, I don't know. He didn't come off like a very likable person in the beginning. And, I think when he didn't get into it with the gym teacher, but I don't think he was a gym teacher. I think he was a coach for football. And he said he wasn't a very good teacher. I don't think he was actually saying he wasn't a very good teacher. It's just if someone didn't want to help, really wasn't a very good teacher. And I think that really struck him. And kind of, from my point of view, it kind of made him straighten up, start caring more.
Well, I think that the first time you actually see him kind of caring is with Gertrude Lane, played by Alicia Witt, who is in Urban Legends, Dune, 88 Minutes, 2 Week Notice. But yeah, she's very young in this movie too. I care a lot. But yeah, so she's a student, a senior, who really wants to get down playing the clarinet, is it? Or flute? I don't know instruments. I want to say it's a flute.
I was thinking
clarinet.
it's a flute.
Which one's out here?
I think that's the
clarinet. Is that a flute?
No, I think that's the clarinet.
Yeah, she is the one.
I wasn't in music, but I had I spent one day in music, and I just realized this isn't for me. I'm not gifted like that, so.
But anyway, I was just gonna
say I was gonna play the trombone, but it just wasn't for me.
I think it's a flute. I don't know. Flute. But anyway, she is wanting to play that instrument, whatever instrument it is, and she doesn't know how to play it properly. She's off key, and he really don't want to. It's like he's teaching the kids, but they're not learning anything because he's not really making it fun for them. He's not educating them. He's teaching them what's in the book, but not really making it plain for them, making it where they can access it. It reminds me of I had a teacher named Mr. He was in high school. He's a high school teacher, coach. I'm trying to think of his name, man. I think his brother was like the executive, Strode, Coach Strode. That's it. He was a science Strode. Yeah, he was a Strode boner. But he taught science or biology or something in the science, right? But he made it interesting to me about just he said there is no new water, and that has stuck with me all these years. The water that we have in the world, like there's not a factory out here creating water. The
Yeah.
water that we have is the same water we had from the very beginning. There's no new water. Uh, it's just crazy how you know the water is the most recycled thing in this on this planet. you know, but yeah, it's just like he made it known to me, and it made me learn that, and now it stuck with me. I'm 43 now. It has stuck with me since I was a kid. But yeah, um, that's what Mr. Holland did, I think, with when he started relaying, because you can hear like Beethoven or Bach or whoever in
Yeah.
uh, in the music that we listen to. Because like even now, I can listen to a song and be like, oh, they sampled the Temptations, or they sampled James Brown, or they sampled Elvis, you know. Um, and
Yeah.
so everything is just like a copy of something that we had previously. What was your thoughts on the scene where he kind of started breaking through to the students?
Uh, like, okay. I thought, well, first off, I had to point back at the principal when she kind of caught him off guard, and she was like, "You're always first to leave,"
Hmm.
and I thought that was an awakening moment for him too. But when he's starting to reach the kids, I think it wasn't Alicia Witt for me. It was
It, oh,
that other girl that was going to be go to New York.
oh, you skipping ahead. All right, cool.
But that's just that's what from what I remember. That's when he was really zoned in with his students. So
Yeah,
I'm just not
yeah,
remembering it like in the first act.
yeah, yeah.
I
I
remember more
mean,
of his stuff with his family in the first
well,
act than the
Gertrude,
students.
yeah, Gertrude is the one that he first kind of connected with, and he looked at her while she was playing, and kind of had a realization that I did teach her. I got her to understand how to
Yeah,
play the music. And she actually did in her graduation. And then the next student, I think that he had an impact on. Also, William H. Mason is brilliant. He's so good at playing like the stick in the mud type of characters. Like essentially, he rehashed his character from well, he's a more stern version of his character from Pleasantville
yeah,
later
I
on.
can see that. I can see that. Did you like
Uh,
him in this movie? I mean, did you like his character? I know
he
you loved
oh
his
he
performance, but
yeah, no, I didn't like his character. I think that
I liked his
he got
character
him.
at the end. Like
Yeah,
I felt like he finally saw it at the end, what he had done, his 30-year career. I was like, he finally got it. So
yeah.
I mean, I don't know the story. I didn't know this was based on a true story.
Is
I,
it?
yeah, it is, and it made sense to me because it skips so much, like
I,
years. Like
I had no idea.
they fly by, man. And I remember you said you had an issue with Elvis because it did that. And I was having the same issue with this. It's like it's going so fast. I'm having a
Yeah,
hard time keeping up. But
yeah.
it is 30 years, so it makes sense
Yeah,
why they did that.
yeah. As a teacher, he spanned over um from he started in 1963 or four or five, maybe 65, and he spanned all the way to like 95. And so that's when he was let go. He's forced into retirement. But before we get there, uh, I didn't even realize I've seen this movie so many times, Brandon. I didn't even realize that it was Terrence Howard in this movie until like
Really?
when he got in the classroom was talking to him. I was like, it's Terrence Howard. I was like hands down, probably the biggest star that came out of this movie is Terrence Howard. Um, I
Yeah.
would
I mean,
argue, I would argue that. But
I
Yeah, I
mean,
thought that.
yeah, I mean, obviously Richard Dreyfuss is well. That's a complicated story too because Richard, he was a big star, but he starred, it was like a flash in a pan in a sense. After this movie, I don't remember him being in a big movie after this. I don't know if he was.
Uh, let's see. Uh, no, he was in Save Christmas, which I've never seen. He's in Sweetwater in 2023, so he still works. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, he works, but he's never. I don't think he's been in a really big movie since this one,
yeah, I don't think so either.
which is a shame. He's a terrific actor.
Yeah, I was trying to see when did What About Bob came out in relation to
I
this.
think it came out a few years before, early '90s. I think.
Cause it's early '90s, yeah. But yeah, Richard, man. But yeah, no, Terrence Howard in this film, I thought that he was thought he was a student that so wanted to be good at
Hmm.
at drumming. It's not that he didn't want to, like he had a good attitude about it, and and I think that I love that the breakthrough and how proud his parents was of him. Now, uh, Mr. Holland experiences a somewhat of a tragedy with his son
Yeah,
Cole not being able to hear, being 90%
yeah.
deaf.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as a father.
Oh, I mean, as a
What was,
father, I don't know how I would have reacted, and I'm thankful I didn't have to go through that. I mean, I know I wouldn't have loved my son any less, but I always wonder if I would make the right decision, right reaction, I guess I should say. I mean, I honestly don't know. I feel like I would have probably really been upset with the Lord in that kind of situation.
mm,
Like, um, at first, because, I'm an emotional person. So, but I felt for him. I felt for the mom a whole lot. Because Richard, Mr. Holland, he just didn't seem like he was present a lot, you know, with his
yeah,
family. And maybe it was a way of him dealing with it. I don't know. But I don't know. That's a hard subject. I mean, I
yeah,
felt for them both. I mean, I felt for the kid too. I mean, he couldn't
yeah,
really tell any problems he had or what he wanted, because he didn't know sign language or nothing. And
yeah.
it's
And
really
and
heartbreaking.
and that teacher, well, that not teacher, but the specialist, quote unquote, who gave horrible advice. Don't use gestures with him. Don't try to communicate with him. Like no, like that is horrible advice. Um, I you know, do it. Uh, I don't know ASL like that. But uh, my heart goes out to those that do that can
Yeah.
that do because it's a hard language to learn. Uh, but it's also a very necessary one because
Mhm.
uh, there's people that really need it.
Did you see
But
how he
yeah, man,
reacted to though the money when he was
yeah,
told how much it's going to cost? It's like I don't want to do this. you know, it, I think that's a normal reaction though, but I think that was also them showing his flaws as well.
yeah,
This guy was not perfect.
absolutely. And matter of fact, it's we're gonna go ahead and skip ahead. All right, so his so Terrence Howard, his student dies.
Yeah, I
Um,
got lost
gets
right
killed
here
in.
at this point because next thing we're seeing them at a funeral. I didn't know who it was at first, so I was
You
kind
didn't
of lost.
recognize the parents.
No, not at first. I was like, who died? Was how many years has it passed? I mean,
Yeah, he died. He must have died in Vietnam,
yeah,
obviously, because it's during the same time as Vietnam. And so I thought that it was heartbreaking. Uh, that you'll think, oh, this guy went and fought, served his
yeah,
country, ended up dying. And I've been at those funerals with um family members that's passed away that was in the military that got the gun salute and had the flag presented to the family. I've been in
Yeah.
several of those. But yeah, it's like never, but though my thank God my family members that have passed away were all older and has came back and lived a life or whatever else.
Yeah.
But it has to be hard for a parent to lose a child in war and
Oh,
to bury that child and to lose a child, period, but to bury a child and then be presented a flag because he died for your country. And at that moment, you probably can't stand your country, to be real, to be honest. Just like you said, you
yeah.
would be mad at God. I
Yeah. I
would see,
mean, yeah, I think that's a normal reaction. You would be angry at your country. He shouldn't have been in this war. You have those kind of thoughts. I would think. I mean, I couldn't imagine like if Dawson goes into the military and something happened. I don't think I could continue living. And that's how I think. I just something like that would have happened. I would be so lost. I know I'd be lost without the Lord. But I don't know. I mean, I couldn't imagine anyone going through that, and so many people have went through it. With Vietnam and other wars that we've been in. It's sad. It's really sad. But I had a problem with what he said at the funeral. He said, "What a waste." I didn't like that line. I thought it was disrespectful. I really did. I just thought it was disrespectful to say that.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I could see that. It could definitely be considered disrespectful, especially, you know, you like in the earshot of the parents when you say that, and you know, and to Terrence Howard's character, he didn't waste his life. He went to serve his country. Now I
yeah,
don't know if he was drafted in or he volunteered or signed enlisted, but Lewis Russ is his character. He for him he wouldn't serve his country.
mhm.
Um, and but yeah, I wanted to go ahead and skip to the most controversial part
Oh yeah,
of this movie, and
hmm
this is Rowena Morgan, who
oh yeah,
also went on the lady. I didn't even recognize it. Louisa Kelly was in Uncle Buck, which I don't remember in that.
you don't
But
remember
she's
Uncle
also
Buck?
I remember Uncle Buck, but I don't remember her in Uncle Buck. Was she like one of the kids?
Yeah, I think she was
I
the
guess.
daughter.
But she was also in Top Gun Maverick as Iceman's
Oh,
wife.
I didn't
So
recognize his wife in that movie,
yeah,
but
it's her. That's who it was. So she still works. So I'm glad and she was in a big movie. So hopefully, I mean, she didn't have a big role, but she was in a big movie. So maybe that helps her continue her career.
hopefully.
But Rowena, my
Hmm.
goodness, ooh. Now, hey, granted, I'm not gonna lie. Brandon, I don't know about you. I can say that I had teachers in high school, uh, in like I can say every stage of my school, whether elementary, but junior high for sure, and high school, maybe junior, elementary. Yes, I had one teacher, Mrs. White. She was very cute, but I was a kid, so what I know? I wouldn't know anything. Then
Yeah, I can say
and
I
then
had one.
Mrs. It's been a few for me, man. Mrs. Skiller, Mrs. Skiller. I mean,
Was she
I'm
very skilled?
she's actually Mrs. Skiller reminded me of Liv Taylor. Liv Tyler. Um, that's what she looked like to me growing up. When I was in school, she looked like her. And then in junior high, I forgot the name of. So her husband was the PE coach, PE teacher. I forgot what she taught, but she was there too. I forget her name, but uh, yeah, yay. But anyway, we all had those teachers. Is my point. And
Yeah,
you said you had one.
Mrs. Engler. Yeah, Mrs. Engler. She taught English in middle school. Yeah, she was very popular. That's all I'm gonna say.
You
Not
got
for
to
those
see.
reasons. She was just very popular.
All right. But yeah, no, we all had those teachers, man, that stood out uh for that reason. But uh, with him, so he feels like, I don't know, I guess he feels like it could have been like a midlife crisis for him.
Hmm.
Um, she's taken interest in his music. And the moment that she's like, "Hey, can I sit at this table with you?" I was thinking, "No, no, you cannot." I was thinking, "No, no, 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 no." But yeah, what was your thoughts on that whole situation? Then he lies to his wife and says that
Yeah,
Rowena
when he
was
lies to
like,
the wife, I was like, "Oh my god, he's gonna have an affair with a student." I was convinced it was happening. I was so convinced. I was like, "Come on, man! She's like 17. You're like 50." I don't know how old he was at the time, but I was
he
like,
had to be pushing 50.
"Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's woo."
because in the 80s, right? And he retired at 60. So yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I don't. At that point in time, though, I don't think it would have been looked at as a big deal. Honestly, I don't. With what I know, stuff went on
yeah,
back in the day. It wasn't looked as like it is today, and that's just the
yeah.
truth. So I don't feel he would have lost his job over it. And some people would have been like, but I don't feel like he
Uh,
would have lost the job
you
over
know
that.
who? Honestly, you know who I thought was going to have an affair with the student. Maybe I misremembered, but honestly, I thought it was going to be the coach. I thought Coach Bill uh, was going to, but he was such a great friend to Mr. Holland.
Yeah.
Um, Also, we didn't talk about Olympia Dukakis at all. Principal Jacobs. I felt like she was Mr. Holland's biggest cheerleader.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and and she was one of those principals that really cared about the students. It reminded me of my very own principal. I would say the best principal I ever had was Mrs. Center at Parker Bennett Elementary. She was, oh well, two of them. In elementary school, Mrs. Center was the best, and then in high school, Dr. Carter was the best. He literally will remember your name and talk to you in the
Yeah.
hallway, and interact with you. And so it was really like, those teachers, and that's what I love about this movie is it makes you appreciate the teachers that you had in your life,
Yeah.
whether it's in school or homeschooling or whatever else or Bible, Sunday school or whatever teacher
Yeah.
you have, makes you appreciate your teachers.
Yeah. For me, there was three teachers that I really remembered, and when I see them out in public, they know who I am, and you know, to think they remember students from 20, 30, 40 years ago, that's incredible. You know, that they've remembered you. Of course, you're going to remember them, but they had so many students. I mean, that's crazy to me. But yeah, I think this film is a great example of remembering the teachers that cared enough about you to help you
Yeah,
along the way.
amen. Yeah, I had some really, and then I will talk about it towards the end a little bit more. But yeah, with Rowena, that girl, she was bold. She asked Mr. Holland to come to New York with her.
She did.
Leave your family. You have a whole family over here. I need you to leave them. Get on this bus with me. Me and you gonna run off to New York. First of all, that's illegal. You can't do that, bro. Secondly, man, yeah, like, and I did love that he came to his senses. The thing is too little too for me, too little too late. But his wife was very forgiving.
Yeah,
He
she
he
knew.
entertained it. He entertained it though. He entertained it.
Yeah, he entertained it, and she knew he entertained it. That's what's crazy about it. She knew what he was doing. You know, he wasn't slick at all. So,
Yeah. When the moment that you lied, you could have been like when she said who's Rowena, you could have been like a student that really took interest in this music and kind of inspired me to continue writing this piece of music. She probably been like, oh, okay, cool. The moment you say it's a Greek goddess, and then like she's like, well, I'm gonna come to your play, and the main person you got singing, she's like, oh, I love her voice. Who is this? Rowena. Oh, and not only that, Rowena has the audacity, Brian. Brandon, I'm sorry, I don't know I call you Brian. Brandon, I have a boss named Brian. But she had the audacity, Brandon, to sing to Mr. Holland during the show.
Yep.
She was singing to him.
Yeah,
That's awkward, man. Your wife is there. Your whole wife is there, bro. Your kid. It's weird. I was literally in my seat, like, oh Lord, please stop. That's how I felt. It's like, no,
So when you first watched this, did you think he was going to have an affair with this student?
absolutely, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think in his
And
mind he
I
did.
and honestly, and honestly, sad to say, a lot of teachers in that situation probably would have. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
especially today.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like, yeah, especially if their home life isn't what they want it to be or whatever
Yeah.
else. But no, but big up on him for not, but still, a little too close with that kiss though, bro. A little too
Yeah.
close. Yeah, it was dang near the lips. It's lip adjacent.
Yeah. That would have been a scene they would have had to cut out today.
Yeah, definitely. It wouldn't fly. This movie probably wouldn't have been made today, honestly. Um, it would have been toned down a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, next big thing I think that we'll talk about was John Lennon's death. So over the course of this movie, there's montages of different things. One of the montages is John Lennon being killed,
Yeah.
which happened in
1980.
19, was it 80?
Well, that's what I got from the film because
Uh,
they just said 1980. Then they heard he been killed. I don't know if he actually died in 1980. I'm just going by what the film was saying.
I think John Lennon died in let's see.
I thought he died in the 70s, but
No, he died in the 80s. He got killed in oh no, why are we throwing Yoko? Nobody wants to see no Yoko Ono. John Lennon. Wait a minute. When did John Lennon die?
you asking me?
December 8th, 1980.
So it was
No, I was
1980.
asking. Yeah. So I was born in 1980. I was born in February, so he died like same year I was born. Um, but yeah, and I imagine it was big for a lot of people. I wasn't. Obviously, I was an infant, so I didn't know him like that. But yeah, I love that he dedicated a song to his son. Um, I thought that was a
Yeah.
sweet moment. I thought that was a sweet moment, and I thought the moment following that was pretty sweet. What was your thoughts on him trying to finally? Because I felt like, and you can let me know if I'm wrong, but I felt like he was avoiding really diving into sign language or diving into like investing in his son because he felt like he can't communicate with his son
Yeah.
with music, and so he felt like since I can't communicate with music, there's no sense communicating with him at all. And so, do you feel like that was like his position, his heart?
Yeah. The way they presented it in the movie, yeah, I felt like he didn't really know how to deal with it. He didn't know how to communicate with him. He didn't know how to know what his interests were, or he definitely didn't think his son knew who John Lennon was or knew anything about music. Which, you know, on one hand, if you don't know anything about sign language and stuff, yeah, I mean, I can get that mindset that you think that, but once they learn the language and they can communicate, you know, they can learn music too. I mean, with sign language, you know, and plus you feel the lyrics. it's not what you
Mm.
hear, it's what you feel, and with the lyrics. So,
And, and
yeah, I feel like he didn't really know how to communicate with his son.
and you think about somebody that like Cole in this sense never really heard, never really could hear
Yeah,
like that. But you think about someone like Stevie Wonder who hasn't had sight, but has been able to write some of the most beautiful songs. You wouldn't know that Stevie Wonder was blind.
all
You
right.
know, if you never knew Stevie Wonder, you wouldn't know that he was blind because of his music. His music is so vivid. Uh, you know, it just and it's like he has a sixth sense. You know, when it comes to music, and so I think that to think that someone that is deaf uh, or hearing impaired can't hear music or experience music is it's kind of a I don't know if it's not a it's not a ism. It might be an ism, but I don't know what the ism's called. But it's wrong, is what I'm saying. It's the wrong thing to do. You know, like I know it's cold, like taking the screwdriver to listen to the engine to hear how the engine sounds.
Hmm.
Um, like he wants to feel the music just like anybody else wants to feel the music. You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah.
and the same with movie theaters, man. There's people that are hearing impaired come to the movies and they get like the special glasses that has the words on there for them, you know, because they want to experience the same movies that we want to experience, and so and that's their right to experience those things. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I agree 110%.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and get towards the end of the movie, I guess, which is in '95. It skips. It abruptly switches. Like everything has flown, like kind of was kind of weaving together, but the '90s is like '90s was in your face. If you lived in the '90s, you remember the '90s like I do.
Yeah.
That's when we had the Attitude Era in wrestling. It's when we had like Malcolm in the Middle. You know, I think it's in the '80s, '90s. It might not have been the '90s, but like just those
Late
shows that
90s, I think. Started
like
in late 90s.
yeah, yeah, those shows like just kind of the music was like more like in your face, uh, grunge. You know, so we had that era, and so they tell Mr. Holland that to save money with the school system, they're cutting out all arts,
Yeah.
drama, music, which is sad. You know, one of my favorite experiences in high school. I didn't do I didn't do music, like I didn't play anything, but I did get to go to the theaters. Kid Shindell Shakelin, uh, buddy of mine, he was a classmate of mine. Uh, I never forget Shindell Shakelin in school being in Fiddler on the Roof, and it made me appreciate the movie Fiddler on the Roof because of the Bowling Green High's production of that play or whatever.
Yeah.
And they did such a great job, man. And it made me appreciate that, you know, that live experience. And so yeah, I think that it's important that music, arts, whether it's arts, like I didn't like in high school, I wasn't into musical arts, but I was into video, you know, videography, and I was in like TV production. So you know, I went that aspect of it, and I'm glad that I was at a school that had that had video, you know, had me to be able to learn how to do some editing and learn how to shoot, learn how to, you know, do little things like that.
Hmm.
And so I think it's important that schools have stuff like that to
Yeah.
kind
I
of
mean,
foster things with kids, you know.
yeah. I mean, because not every kid wants to play sports, and not every kid's got that talent either. I mean, so yeah, you need something creative for kids to do as well, and whether it's music, where it's performing arts, or drawing. whatever. I mean, they need something creative to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
You need something for everybody, to figure out who they are, what their true gift is. Because around that age is when you really find out what your passion is in life. Well, at least that's what happened to me. I mean, about seventh, eighth grade, I love to write. Never really wrote anything in my life, but we had to write short stories. I just, I found my passion right there. It was pretty
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, I agree, man. So they tell Mr. Holland that they're gonna have to retire, and he feels at this point in his life, he feels uh underappreciated.
Yeah.
He feels like he wasted his life. He wasted 30 years of his life to just be pushed out, and then nobody's gonna remember him. Um, and it hit me on a personal note with when it comes to my father. I thank God for my father. I love him to death. Um, he worked for RC Cola for I say a good 30 years or so. He worked there since I was a little kid. It's just my sister was a little girl, so it had to be my sister's older than me. She's 5 years older than me. So my father worked for RC for all them years, and right before he was about to retire, they let him go because it's cheaper to let him go than to pay out retirement. Uh, and he and just to do all that, put in all that time for a company and to feel that way, it broke my heart. Because
Yeah.
and I never want my dad or anybody for that matter, not just my father, but you, Brandon, uh, or anyone else. I never want them to feel underappreciated or anything like that because you have value. You have value for me. You have value for others. You have value for your son. You know, and so I think that that it's a hurtful thing, but it's also a redeeming thing in this movie is when he sees everybody come together for him
Mhm.
to let him know that like I teared I cried. I was like, I ain't gonna lie to you, Brandon. I cried. What did you cry at all or no?
I got a little emotional at the very end, because you hit it right on the nail that he didn't feel like he was appreciated for his time that he taught all these students. And then once he sees what's really happening, it hit him how much he was loved and how much of an effect he had on people. So that's where it hit me. It's like you don't know who you affect in this life. You don't know who truly loves you, who truly hates you. And when you see the people that do love you, it hits you. And that was where it hit me. And I really love that moment in the film. It's probably my favorite moment in the film. You see the love they
Absolutely.
had for him.
And
Yeah.
I love that you see like students from every generation that he's
Yeah.
taught back like there like Stagger or whatever the kid is that was high in class that's like I'm too cool for school. I can just do this with my eyes closed type of kid. I love that he was there. He's like I wouldn't have missed this. I wouldn't have missed this. And
Yeah.
even Gertrude is now the governor in this town, governor of the state, and she came back. She's like, yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here for this. Because because the the time that I'm getting emotional. I don't want to get emotional, but the time that you take with one person to pour into them, to
Yeah.
spend that time, even if it's just a small bit of a time, uh, it can have a profound impact on that person's life. The Bible says, uh, like Paul was talking about, how he where like one plants, one waters, but God gets the increase. So it's like you might come along and plant a seed, then maybe some time passes, and then I might come around and water that seed that you planted in them, and I might go along, but then eventually God gets the increase. Like later on, you come back and it's a whole bush or a whole
Yeah.
tree, and it has fruit because of just the impact that you poured into that person. uh, even if it's a very small little thing. And so I think that it's important that to show honor and love to those teachers in your life that you know the Mrs. Grams and the Mrs. Fishbacks uh, and Quentin Hollis, he's my buddy now,
Mm-hmm.
but he was my professor at WKU. Mr. Charles Borders, who was my U.S. Civ professor. These people, Mrs. Hollis, she taught me math. She took time with me, and I hate math. She really took time with me. Mrs. Asbury in high school, uh, Mrs. Light, just these people that really took time to kind of pour into you and teach you and help mold you, or if you're having a bad day, pulled you to the side, spoke to you,
Yeah.
or didn't, you got in trouble. They could have sent you to detention, but instead they took time to talk to you. And I thank God for people, Coach Joyner. I thank God for those people that took time to do that for me. You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want to say that this way that movie brought that out of me. That it made me want to appreciate. And my first teacher is my parents, so I thank God for my mother and my father that took time to teach me and my grandparents. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this movie will bring those emotions out. They will make you think of teachers that helped you along the way. That really helped, not just in the classroom, but took you to the side and it's like, hey, what seems to be the problem? Let's work it out. I'll help you with it. You know, after class or whatever. I had three uh, that I really remember. Remember Miss Martin. She was a math teacher of mine. Everybody hated her, but she came off. She always had an attitude. It seemed like, but I actually really liked her. And she's one of the teachers I still talk to today when I see her. Mr. Sanders, social studies teacher. Uh, Everyone spread a rumor that he was gay when he wasn't. I always respected him the most of all the teachers. He went through the most, and I don't know. He was always nice to me, and I see him the most, and I always speak, and he always like, "Hey, Brandon," It's just the fact that he remembered. It lifts you up, man. It just like, oh, he remembers me. And in high school, it was Mrs. Davenport. I had a lot of trouble in algebra.
Why is it that
Now,
we all had a Mrs. Davenport, by the way? But go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, but I had a lot of trouble in algebra, and she was like, she tried to help me as much as she could, and I appreciate that. And I ended up going to homeschool because I had a hard time in high school with
You
bullies
said
and
you was bullied. Yeah.
yeah, and I just kind of quit. I gave up. I just quit trying. And Mrs. Logan taught me in homeschool. It was like a Christian academy for, that's the kind of school she was teaching. And she really helped me a lot. And she's a church going member. I don't remember what church she goes to, but she's a very Christian woman. Really don't wear anything but dresses, no makeup, she's full pledged Christian. But she's she probably helped me more than anybody. She was like, "I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you to graduate." And I was really behind. I was like a year and a half behind, but I graduated on time. So
Amen. Amen. Those people, man. It reminded me of Mr. I had a teacher in junior high, wood shop teacher. Oh, I had so many teachers. I
oh
just
yeah,
thought about Mr. Padilla, but wood shop, Mr. Lewis. He'll always say, "If you're here, say here you're a present." And somebody said, "Or," he's like, "All right, don't be smart, don't be smart." You know.
yeah.
But yeah, and then he'll say he always gets you thinking. Like you'll say, "Can I go to the restroom?" He said, "I don't know. Can you?"
My woodshop teacher
Because
was. I was just gonna say my woodshop teacher was Mr. Ings, and he always and my nephew told me this. when he went to Logan County, he would tell a story about me. It's not a good story, but he would always tell a story to new
Oh,
students.
the
I hit
teach
some.
the with the stick with the paddle, right? Didn't you have
Uh,
some with a paddle, a piece of
I
wood?
hit some. I hit somebody with a 2x4, and it was like, know your role, shut your mouth, lay the smack F down on your candy. You know, it was that kind of board.
Oh
I
wow.
scarred a guy from here to here, which I'm not proud of, but that's what I did. He would always tell that story. When my nephew came in, he said, "Your last name's Spivey? Are you any relation to Brandon Spivey?" And he would tell him that story. Said, "I don't nobody mess with this kid. He'll hit you upside the head with a 2x4."
Oh man. Oh, that reminds me of I got a couple more teachers just to name. Uh, in high school, Mr. White, Mr. White was absolutely. He was my TV production teacher. I don't know what else he taught. He always just talked about hunting. But yeah, he was the coolest teacher. It's literally the coolest class. He was one of the coolest guys. He was sick at one point. I hope he's doing better now. But let's see. I had Mrs. Padilla, like I said. She taught she's taught Spanish, I think, but also she taught like some type of like drama maybe because I remember we was reading a lot of plays and stuff in her class. Um, and then let's see. Uh, one more good one. Oh, there's so many people, man. It's in college, Mr. White, Steve White was my teacher when it comes to TV and film production. Uh, he was like he's he also worked on the movie Haunted Wing. But yeah, Steve man was is he's still around today. He's not teaching, he's retired, but he's such an outstanding professor. Um, and Mr. I was struggling one day, and Mr. Lon I can't pronounce his last name. But he came in. He was I don't know if he was off or what, but I was in like the editing bay at WKU, and I was struggling with doing tape to tape. And he came in, Mr. Mr. Lorner, I think. I forget his name, but he came in and took time to help me. He took hours to help me to get it, and he didn't have to do that. Uh, just you know, just people like that
Mm-hmm.
that sacrifice just maybe an hour or two that impacted your life.
Yeah.
And they probably don't know how much they impacted your life. And so, yeah, I'm just thankful for them. I'm thankful for all my teachers. For better or for worse, I'm thankful for every single teacher that I've ever had in my life. Um, and this movie made me appreciate them a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true. I mean, you it makes you think about them, all the teachers that came and helped you. So yeah, I agree with that.
All right, you ready to give your mark? And then also by the end of it, so he's been working through a thin line throughout the whole movie. Is he has his opus, this piece of music he's been working on, this symphony, and he's been working on it from 1965, let's say, and he's been working on it the whole time, a little bit here, a little bit there, and he never thought he'd ever get it done because of teaching and stuff. But the Gertrude says, "We are your music. We are your symphony. You know,
Yeah.
we are the music that you made. You made us. You helped create us and placed us where we are. You know." Um, and so at the end of it, he got to do his opus. What was your thoughts on that?
I thought it was very touching, that so many students from the past not just wanted to, but actually showed up. You think about that today, would people care enough with how people are in the world? And it's a different time. So I really appreciated that they did. They thought enough of this man, to show up and do something for him, to make his dream come true in a sense, because he wanted to do this his whole life pretty much. So I thought it was very touching.
Absolutely. All right, let's go ahead and give our marks for this movie. I'll just go first.
I'll go first. I know yours is going to be higher. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was really good. The pace, I think, went too fast for me. And I was having a hard time with his character. Did he truly care about his family or not? But by the end of it, I was like, man, this has been a really good movie. Like, it's something I would actually rewatch again. So I thought it was a very solid movie.
Yeah. So Mr. Holland, I give it a 5 markouts out of 5. This movie has always held a special place in my heart. It's one of the few movies that every time I watch it, I cry. It is what it is. This and My Life with Michael Keaton is a movie that I don't care. I cry, and I'm okay with it.
I've never seen
it.
And
I think, I can't wait to show it to you. I can't wait to choose it. I don't even know how you'll see it, but it's something. It makes you. It's gonna make you appreciate being a father, honestly. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. Next week is Brandon's choice.
It's a request. We're finally getting to it. My friend Katie requested this about a month ago. The Black Whale Ghost. It's a documentary, so it's what we're going to review next week, and you'll be up after that
with Brewster's Millions. But Brandon, what do we want people to do?
Oh, we would really appreciate it and enjoy it if you click that like button, click that share button, and obviously subscribe to the Markout Movie Podcast so you can get more episodes with our wacky selves, me, Brandon, and Aaron there.
I'm very wacky. Can't you tell how wacky I am? All right. Well, in the meantime and in between time, Aaron Whitlow.
I'm Brandon Spivey. I do believe Aaron is feeling better. And we are the Markout Movie Podcasters.
Thank you for marking out with us.